everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. Today, the piece that I'll be doing is named At the Bridge. The piece is supposed to symbolize the many ways the bridge represent a connection or a change or a transformation, and crossing that bridge means, I guess to some degree, maybe progress and just facing your fears and maybe being open to change. At least that's the idea that I started with for this piece. So like always, I love painting clouds and I find them so dreamy. So I decided to do a white wash along with some blues in the background with plenty of water to create the background, and slowly working from top down, adding a bit of white and darker colors to create the layers of clouds. I think I used quite a bit of white gouache here, and actually at the end of this I think I used up all the white gouache I had in my tube. It's kind of sad. Not sure if this is the most productive way of doing it. I'll probably have to revisit it. But anyways, you can see that I usually work from top to bottom, and then from left to right, and also from back to front, and I'm layering on more clouds in the front as I finish for the other layers to dry in the back. This process actually does take quite a bit to wait for the layers to dry and then add on the next layer of clouds. But this art time lapse was making it look really fast and making it look really easy. But anyway, so people often ask me how long a piece like that typically takes. I would say, for example, this piece would take me probably at least 10 hours, I would imagine. The problem with me trying to calculate exactly how much time I spend on each piece is because I usually work on multiple pieces at the same time. While one piece is drying, the other piece is something I'll work on. And at the same time, I'm also not sitting down to do one piece all in one go. I probably would have spent, I think this piece I did it over the span of a month. From the idea of inception, thinking about what I'm going to draw, which usually takes up more time, and then slowly working on the background before coming to the foreground, adding on the interesting parts like the bridge and the characters. So overall, it took a month for me to wrap up this piece, but I think it turned out okay. So in the front, I'm using some more highlighted and some mute colors. I think the shadow is a very, I guess, beautiful part of the piece as the light shines through the bridge. I'm never really good at shadows, so I hope this turns out. But the bridge seemed like so much fun to draw when I started working on it. Here I'm working on the main character from, you guessed it, it's Spirited Away from Studio Ghibli. That's what this piece is inspired from. So she's hanging out at the bridge, and instead of looking down, she's looking up at the beautiful sky, and I'm going to paint in some birds flying off or flying towards her. I think it's more flying off. The idea is about, like I mentioned in the beginning, transformation, taking the next step, and for her it's kind of process of growing up as well. So at the bridge is like an intersection of many things that can happen. So that's what this piece symbolizes. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider like, subscribe, and sharing. It really does help a lot with spreading the word about this channel. I realize looking at this video now, I have this odd habit of using my pinky sticking out as I'm painting. Actually, there is a function to it, not just to make it look fancy, but I use it as my pinky as a pivot for me to pivot my paintbrush and keep my hand steady. A lot of times I don't want to put my entire hand or palm of my hand onto the piece in case there are parts that are not totally dry and I end up smudging the piece. One of my favorite parts of drawing pieces is not only the background but the foreground and the little characters. So I'm really taking my time and making sure I get it right. You can see from most of my artwork I don't do a lot of drafting or using color pencils to mark where everything is, where the characters are or how they are positioned. A lot of it I paint as I go along and try to figure out. Sometimes because of the technique that I use where I dilute a lot of water into my gouache, the water kind of fills and like spreads in different ways, and I think that creates a magical sense of something natural that maybe the piece is calling me to do. So I don't always want to set very clear, hard lines for how the piece will look like. I'm hoping the piece will speak to me and tell me this is how I would like things to go. It sounds very loosey-goosey, I realize, but like, trust me, it's been working. So for the sky, I didn't want it just to be like a purple blue color. I decided to add a little bit of turquoise and pink on it as well. I think it will create a little bit more dreaminess to it. Usually when I paint, I like to put a little bit of music in the background. I like some smooth jazz and other music I really enjoy. Or you know what, besides music, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I think podcasts are a nice change from music sometimes, but I often get distracted and end up listening to the podcast less so than the artwork, so I'm veering away from that lately. Anyways, the podcasts I've been really into are more related to economics, which is a slight change from my artist background, but it's nice to hear about what's happening with the economy, I guess. And here I decided maybe I'll add Haku as a dragon flying in from the sky towards her, but after a little while I was like, I'm not sure if I'm really feeling it. I did spend a fair bit of time on it. At the end, I actually did just colored him over. It was really sad to do that. Now I'm adding in some darker shades, but you can clearly see the many birds that are flying off into the sky, and I didn't exactly count how many birds are in the sky. There was no intent to do that even from the very beginning. I just like the idea of them flying off in a flock and signifying that like a release of those emotions, those thoughts, as your worries are being carried away and you're finally crossing that bridge at the bridge. I really hope you enjoy watching this art time lapse so far. I had a wonderful time drawing this piece. Love how the sky worked out and the bridge, and adding in those shades of purple and pinks and greens and blues, just all blended out so well together. I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me on another art time lapse, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.